When my mom told me she was dating someone new, I expected it to be simple. She was 53 and had been single for a while. I figured it would be someone her age, maybe someone she met at work or through friends. I was ready to smile, nod, and support her. Then she said his name. Caleb. At first I thought it was a joke. The name hit me in the chest like a sharp breath. When I looked at her face, she was smiling, waiting for my reaction. "You remember him," she said. "From the old neighborhood." I remembered him too well. Caleb lived down the street when I was little. He was the boy everyone liked. He helped neighbors, fixed bikes, and laughed easily. I was 7 when I met him, and I followed him everywhere. I once told my mom I was going to marry him when I grew up. She laughed about it back then, so when she told me she was dating him now, my stomach twisted. She knew. She remembered my childhood crush clearly. Yet she didn't hesitate. She laughed and said, "Isn't it funny? You were so obsessed with him." That word burned. This wasn't funny. It felt like something private had been taken from my past and dragged into the present without my permission. After that day, I tried to act normal. I told myself I was overreacting. I was an adult now. Childhood crushes were supposed to mean nothing. That's what people say when they want you to move on quietly. But every time my mom mentioned Caleb, my chest tightened. She talked about how mature he was, how he listened, how men her age didn't understand her like he did. Each sentence felt like another reminder that she didn't see the problem. She invited me over more often. She said it would be nice for us to spend time together. Even when I planned to see her alone, she brought him up. She smiled and joked about how life worked in strange ways. "You were crazy about him," she said more than once. I still remember it. She said it like it was a cute story to share. To me, it felt like a boundary being crossed again and again. That crush was something small and innocent. It belonged to a child version of me. Hearing it repeated like a joke made me feel exposed. I started dodging her calls. She noticed, and instead of stopping, she pushed harder. Eventually, my mom asked me to have dinner with her and Caleb. She said we needed to clear the air. She promised it would be relaxed and normal. I didn't want to go, but saying no felt like turning my back on her completely. So I agreed. The restaurant was busy and loud. When I saw Caleb, he looked almost exactly the same, just older, taller, more confident. His smile felt different now, not friendly, knowing. We had barely sat down when my mom laughed and said, "I told him you used to have a huge crush on him." My heart dropped. Caleb looked at me and grinned. "Yeah," he said, "she told me. That's cute, right?" Then he winked. I felt heat rush to my face. People at nearby tables glanced over. I looked at my mom, hoping she would stop it. She didn't. "She was obsessed with you when she was little," she laughed. I wanted to disappear. Watching him reach for my mom's hand after that made my stomach turn. My childhood feelings had become a dinner joke, something for them to laugh about together. I barely touched my food. By the time we left, I felt embarrassed, angry, and strangely violated. Outside the restaurant, I pulled my mom aside. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice calm. I told her how uncomfortable I felt. I reminded her that she knew about my childhood crush. I said it wasn't funny. I said it crossed a line. She rolled her eyes. She told me I was too sensitive. She said I was jealous and needed to grow up. She said I was living in the past. Those words hurt more than the jokes. I wasn't jealous of her relationship. I was hurt that she took something fragile from my childhood and turned it into entertainment. Worse, she blamed me for reacting. Caleb stood nearby, pretending not to listen. On the drive home, I felt numb. I replayed the laughter, the wink, and my mom's smile over and over. That was when something finally clicked. She wasn't going to protect me. She wasn't going to respect my feelings. If I wanted this to stop, I would have to protect myself. After that night, I stopped trying. I didn't call my mom as often. I didn't visit. When she texted about Caleb, I replied with short answers or ignored the messages completely. I let her enjoy her relationship without my involvement. She didn't like that. She accused me of being cold. She said I was ruining her happiness. She told me I should be happy for her. I didn't argue anymore. I was done explaining myself to someone who refused to listen. The distance hurt, but it hurt less than being mocked. Every time I chose silence, I felt a little stronger, a little more in control. I didn't know yet how far this situation would go. I just knew one thing. I was finished being the punchline. The distance didn't make my mom quieter. It made her louder. She called more, texted more, and left long voice notes that sounded sweet on the surface but sharp underneath. She kept saying things like, "I don't understand why you're doing this." And families don't abandon each other. She didn't say sorry, not once. Instead, she talked about Caleb like he was the solution to everything. She said he made her feel young. She said he listened. She said he didn't judge her like older men did. Every compliment felt like she was trying to prove something to me. One afternoon, she sent me a selfie of the two of them smiling. The message said, "Look how happy I am." I stared at it for a long time, feeling sick. I didn't reply. She followed up with, "He wants to get to know you better. He thinks you misunderstood him." Misunderstood him. Like the wink was an accident, like the joke wasn't planned, like my embarrassment wasn't real. That night, I realized something hard. My mom was not trying to fix what happened. She was trying to smooth it over so she could keep enjoying her life without guilt. And my silence was getting in the way of that. A week later, my mom showed up at my apartment without warning. I opened the door and saw her holding a bag of food like it was a peace offering. She smiled too brightly, like she expected me to let her in and pretend nothing happened. She stepped inside and started talking right away. She said she missed me. She said she didn't like the distance. She said she was tired of feeling like she had to choose between love and her own child. That word, choose, made my stomach twist. I told her I wasn't asking her to choose. I was asking her to respect me. She sighed loudly and said, "This again." Then she said something that hit me hard. She said Caleb thought I hated him for no reason. She said he wanted to talk to me and clear the air. I said no. She stared at me like I had slapped her. "Why not?" she asked. "Because I don't trust him," I said. "And I don't trust you to protect me." Her face changed. She looked angry now, not hurt. She told me I was being dramatic and childish. She said I was punishing her. I walked to the door and opened it. She left without looking back. And I didn't chase her. After that visit, my mom started turning the story into something public. She posted pictures online almost every day. Her and Caleb at dinner, her and Caleb at the park, her and Caleb holding hands like they were trying to prove the world wrong. The captions were always the same kind of message. Love wins. Never too late. People judge what they don't understand. Every time I saw one, my chest tightened. Then she tagged me in a post. I felt my face heat up like someone had called my name in a crowded room. It felt like she was pulling me into it on purpose, like she wanted people to notice my silence. I messaged her and told her to stop tagging me. I said I didn't want to be part of her relationship posts. She replied, "Why? You're my daughter. You should be proud of me." Proud. That word made me feel sick. I wasn't ashamed of her being happy. I was hurt that she was using me like a prop. Like my discomfort was just a small price for her love story. That night, I muted her posts. Then I blocked her from tagging me again. It felt like finally closing a door. The next call came fast. My mom's voice sounded tense. She asked why I blocked her from tagging me. She said people noticed. She said it made her look bad. I asked her, "Do you care more about how you look than how I feel?" She didn't answer. Instead, she said Caleb thought I needed to move on. Hearing that made my skin crawl. The fact that he felt comfortable giving advice about my feelings made me angry in a way I didn't expect. I told her I wasn't discussing him anymore. She laughed like I was being silly. She said, "You're acting like a jealous teenager." That word, jealous, hit me like a slap. I had been patient for so long. I had tried to speak calmly. I had tried to explain, and she still reduced it to jealousy, like my feelings were childish and simple. I ended the call early. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I just hung up. It was the first time I did that to my mom. Afterward, I sat shaking on my couch, realizing I had crossed a line I could never uncross. And somehow I felt relief. That night, I stared at my ceiling and tried to sort through everything. I wasn't angry at first, then I was. Then I felt sad, then numb. My emotions moved like waves, crashing and pulling back again. I realized something important in the middle of that storm. I couldn't control my mom, I couldn't control Caleb, but I could control access. I decided I wouldn't attend anything where Caleb was present. I wouldn't show up just to be laughed at again. I wouldn't accept bonding that felt like humiliation. I didn't announce my decision. I didn't threaten her. I simply chose peace. In the morning, my mom texted me about a family lunch that weekend. She wrote, "Caleb will be there. It's time you act normal." I stared at the message. Then I replied with one line. "I won't be coming." No explanation. No argument. Just a boundary. And for the first time, I felt like my life belonged to me again. Skipping the family lunch caused more waves than I expected. My phone stayed quiet that day, but the silence felt loud. I knew my mom was talking. She always did when she felt ignored. 2 days later, a cousin texted me asking if I was okay. She said my mom seemed upset and confused. I replied politely and said I needed space. That word, space, felt powerful. That night, my mom finally called. Her voice sounded wounded, not angry. She said she didn't recognize me anymore. She said I used to be more understanding. I told her understanding didn't mean accepting disrespect. She sighed and said, "You're really gonna let this man come between us?" That sentence hurt. I told her calmly that no one came between us. She stepped over me, and I stepped back. She went quiet after that. For the first time, she didn't argue. A week passed without contact. It felt strange and peaceful at the same time. I focused on work and spent time with friends who didn't ask questions I couldn't answer. Then I saw another post online. My mom had shared a photo of her and Caleb with a caption about choosing happiness even when people try to hold you back. People commented hearts and praise. I closed the app and sat still for a long time. That post wasn't for strangers. It was for me. I realized she wanted me to feel guilty enough to come back and play my role again. The supportive daughter. The quiet one. The one who swallowed discomfort to keep the peace. I didn't. Instead, I muted more family chats and limited who could contact me. Each small step felt like breathing a little easier. The next escalation came unexpectedly. My mom showed up at my workplace. She waited outside until I finished my shift. Seeing her there made my chest tighten. She said she just wanted to talk. We sat on a bench nearby. She told me she felt judged. She said people whispered. She said Caleb felt uncomfortable because of my distance. I told her I wasn't responsible for his comfort. She asked why I couldn't just forgive and forget. I asked why she couldn't admit she hurt me. She didn't answer. Instead, she cried. That used to break me. This time, it didn't. After that meeting, I knew something had shifted for good. My mom wasn't going to change unless I stopped cushioning her feelings. I wrote her a long message that night. I told her exactly how the dinner made me feel. I told her how exposed I felt. I told her I needed respect, not jokes. I sent it. She read it. She didn't reply. That silence told me everything. Days later, my mom sent a short message. Caleb is moving in. My hands shook as I read it. That wasn't just news. It was a challenge, and I knew the hardest part was still ahead. When my mom told me Caleb was moving in, I didn't answer right away. I read the message again and again, like maybe I misunderstood it. But there it was, plain and final. He wasn't just her boyfriend anymore. He was becoming part of her home, her daily life. Later that night, she sent another message. She said she hoped I would come over soon. She said this was a big step, and she wanted my support. Support felt like a heavy word. I thought about everything that had already happened. The jokes, the wink, the way my feelings were brushed off and laughed at. Nothing had changed except the situation had grown bigger. I replied carefully. I told her I wasn't ready to see him again. I said I needed more time and space. Her response came fast. She said time wouldn't fix anything unless I changed my attitude. She said I was holding on to the past and letting it ruin the present. That was when I realized something clearly. She wasn't asking how to heal. She was asking how to make me quiet. And for the first time, I stopped wondering what I could do better. A few days later, I heard about the move from someone else. A relative mentioned it casually during a phone call, like it was exciting news. She said my mom looked happier than she had in years. I smiled and said I was glad. Inside, I felt empty. It was strange hearing about my mom's life, like I was an outsider. Like my role had already been replaced. People spoke as if everything was settled, and I just hadn't caught up yet. That night, my mom called again. She asked if I was avoiding her on purpose. I told her yes. I said I needed distance. She accused me of punishing her. I told her boundaries weren't punishment. She laughed and said I sounded like I learned that word online. That laugh felt sharp. I ended the call without saying goodbye. My hands shook afterward, but I didn't regret it. Something inside me felt steady, like I was finally standing on my own feet. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of disappointing her. I ran into them unexpectedly at the grocery store. I saw them before they saw me. My chest tightened, and for a moment I thought about turning around. But it was too late. Caleb smiled and waved like we were old friends. My mom crossed her arms and watched me closely, like she was waiting to see how I would behave. Caleb asked how I was doing. His voice sounded casual, almost playful. I said I was fine, and tried to walk past. He laughed softly and said, "Still upset about the past?" That sentence hit hard. I stopped and told him my feelings weren't a joke. My mom sighed loudly and said I was causing a scene. People nearby were watching. I felt small again, just like at the restaurant. I didn't argue. I walked away. When I got home, my hands were shaking. But under the fear was something else. Clarity. After that encounter, I stopped doubting myself. The confusion faded, replaced by something calm and firm. I finally accepted that this situation wasn't going to improve if I kept hoping. I blocked my mom on social media. I left family group chats. I stopped sharing updates about my life. At first, the silence felt strange, then it felt peaceful. I slept better. I laughed more. I stopped replaying conversations in my head. For the first time in months, my thoughts felt like my own. I realized how much noise I had been living with. How much guilt had weighed on me. Letting go didn't make me heartless. It made me lighter. A week later, my mom emailed me. The message was long. She said she didn't recognize me anymore. She said Caleb thought I was cruel. She said I was breaking her heart. I read the email once, then I closed my laptop, because finally I knew exactly who I was, and I wasn't going back. After I closed my laptop, I sat in silence for a long time. I expected to feel guilty or scared, but I didn't. I felt tired, like someone who had been carrying something heavy for years and finally set it down. I thought about all the times I tried to explain myself. All the times I softened my words so my mom wouldn't get upset. All the times I swallowed my feelings just to keep the peace. None of it had protected me. That night, I wrote everything down in a notebook, not to send, just to release it. I wrote about the dinner, the jokes, the wink, and the way my childhood feelings were laughed at. I wrote about how alone I felt standing there. When I finished, I closed the notebook and put it away. I realized I didn't need my mom to understand everything. I needed to understand myself. And I finally did. Weeks passed without contact. People stopped asking questions. Life slowly settled into a new rhythm. I focused on my job, my friends, and the small routines that made me feel steady. Sometimes I missed my mom. That never fully went away. But missing someone didn't mean I had to return to a place that hurt me. One afternoon, I ran into an old neighbor from my childhood street. She asked how my mom was doing and casually mentioned Caleb, like it was normal news. I smiled politely and changed the subject. That was when I noticed something important. My chest didn't tighten anymore. The story no longer controlled me. I had moved forward, not because the pain disappeared, but because I stopped letting it decide my choices. One evening, my mom sent another message. It was shorter than the others. She said she missed me. She said the house felt strange without my voice. She didn't mention the jokes. She didn't mention the dinner. She didn't mention Caleb. I read the message carefully. Then I replied with one sentence. I need a relationship where my feelings are respected. I didn't add anything else. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. For the first time, I trusted my words to stand on their own. Her reply came days later. She said she didn't realize how deeply everything affected me. She said she never meant to hurt me. She still didn't fully apologize, but something in her tone felt different. Less defensive, less sharp. I told her I needed more time. She didn't fight it. That alone felt like progress. I understood then that healing didn't mean going back to how things were. It meant building something new, slowly, with clear limits. And if that couldn't happen, I was okay walking away. Looking back now, I understand this story was never really about age gaps or old crushes. It was about boundaries. It was about what happens when someone you love laughs at your pain and expects you to smile back. I didn't destroy my relationship with my mom. I stopped letting it destroy me. Choosing distance wasn't revenge, it was self-respect. And that choice changed everything.